Welcome to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Zolo, the operating system of the solo economy. Every week, we'll be serving up an audio cocktail of expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing to help you grow your borderless business to new heights and live life on your own terms. So kick back, grab a snack, and let's get started. Today's guest on the podcast is Kelley Kemple, who is a graphic designer specializing in packaging and branding and operates as Hidden Path Creative. She transitioned from the corporate world into full-time freelancing over the last couple of years by steadily growing her side hustle. So that's a great journey to discuss in any case. But I wanted to talk to Kelley specifically because I know that she generates a lot of her business from the platform Upwork. Many freelancers have some history with this marketplace, myself included, but I haven't come across many people who really made it work as well as Kelley has, building up a viable funnel of work at rates which are meaningful for generating an income in the US. These days, instead of pitching, most of Kelley's Upwork work comes to her directly, which is obviously the ideal state to reach. And in this call, she generously shared her Upwork success strategies with me, which will be of great value for freelancers in all sorts of disciplines beyond design. Ultimately, it comes down to really understanding how the platform works and working with it to create a genuinely win-win-win experience for freelancers, clients, and the platform itself by optimizing all the different elements as they're designed to work together. So just like in episode 7, when Jennifer Riggins talked to us about LinkedIn, I suggest grabbing something to take notes on and a good strong coffee for when you listen to this episode. Because if you use or want to use Upwork at all, you're guaranteed to come away from this with an extensive to-do list. From creating the perfect portfolio and profile to researching clients sneakily and subtly, then creating the pitches which are going to land really well. There are so many gold nuggets in this conversation, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So welcome, Kelley. It's great to have you with us at the Future Is Freelance.
Thank you so much for having me, Maya. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Great. Well, it would be great if we could start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what did you do before that to lead you to where you are now?
Oh, of course. So I'm Kelley Kemple. I'm a graphic designer. I specialize in branding and packaging design. And I've been running my own freelance business for about 2 years. The first year it was a side hustle while I was still working in corporate America. And just a year ago, I went into my business full time. Before I went freelance, I was working in-house for 2 different national retailers over about the span of 20 years.
Okay.
Most recently I was at, most recently I was at Kohl's, which is US retailer, national department store, does a lot of housewares, apparel, fashion, footwear for the whole family. And they have a lot of private brands, meaning like brands that they make their own product under. So I was managing the brand identities and packaging design for all of those products. So my freelance business was a really natural transition in terms of the skills that I already had, but to work with clients instead of working in-house.
Fair enough. Lovely. Well, first of all, congratulations on that step that you took a year ago. It's always really lovely to hear about people being liberated from that corporate environment and taking the plunge, going freelance, especially as you did it in the middle of the pandemic, recession and everything else. So that's brilliant to hear, and that you gradually transitioned from growing a side hustle into something that obviously became too big to ignore and decided to make a go of it. So that's fantastic. Now, one of the reasons I invited you here is because we have lots of freelancers in our community who are at different stages in their journey, and they'll already be inspired by this living proof that you did it and you escaped from that corporate environment into freelancing. But I know that one of the tools that you used and still use in your journey is the platform Upwork, which attracts a lot of controversy and debate. And I was keen to talk to you because you are making Upwork work. So
yes,
if it's not too big an ask, what is your secret? And well, what role does Upwork play in your present business? Maybe that's the best place to start.
Sure. Yeah. So Upwork right now is one of my biggest source of leads for new clients into my business. When I started using Upwork, when I started the side hustle. I wanted to find some clients that I could work with directly. And at the time, I was still in my corporate job, and I wanted to test out the waters of what freelance could be for me without letting my employer know that I was starting to look for other roles or look into doing this on my own.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. So it was a completely new market then to go and look on Upwork.
Yes.
Excellent. So how did you start? Was it easy to build a profile and put your sort of showcase together or your portfolio?
The profile itself was fairly easy, although I would say that in the 2 years that I've been active on Upwork, I've learned a lot about refining my profile. I was able to use work that I had already done to create a small portfolio. But what I like to think about with the Upwork profile is that Upwork's kind of a search engine. So similar to how some people will tell you that like Amazon is a search engine or some of these other, businesses. If a business, if they're looking for a designer, if they're looking for a writer, if they're looking for even like a VA or a particular special skill set, and they're looking to work with a person, not a bigger company or an agency, if they go onto Google and they search like, where do I find a freelancer? Upwork is one of the first things that comes up. And then the clients that come to Upwork are really warm leads. They are people that have projects where they need help and they're interested in working with an individual that they can get to know. And that's where that profile is really helpful, because you want to make sure that your profile has lots of the terms and phrases that somebody looking for your service will be typing in when they're looking for help.
That's such an interesting point. In fact, this chimes in really well with what Jennifer Riggins told us in an earlier episode about using LinkedIn, and that you have to really not stuff it full of keywords, but think about those search terms. But I love what you said about doing it from the customer's point of view, what they're looking for. So in your sphere of graphic design, then what sort of phrases do you make sure are near the top of your profile to be found?
Yeah. So package design, packaging design for products.
Right.
But then I also include like specific types of products and product categories, so that, if somebody comes on and they've got a new cosmetic or skincare brand, which is really popular right now. And so if they're looking for like packaging for skincare, making sure that packaging and skincare is in my profile. So like I have a description of what I do and how I help, but then at the bottom, I also have a list of, these are the types of packages that I work with. These are the types of product categories that I work with. These are the types of retail businesses, whether it's in store or direct to consumer. Because a lot of clients also want to ask you if you have experience in their particular area. And I don't recommend just putting categories in your profile just to use as search terms. Like, if you're another packaging designer and you put skincare packaging in your profile and you've never done skincare packaging,
That's not going to help for anybody, is it?
No. So you want to be like truthful about the things that you do, but just be like, think of all the different ways that somebody might say it and weave those into your profile.
That's super interesting. Yeah. So whatever your specialism as a freelancer, you've got to be a little bit of an SEO copywriter as well in order just to get found. Yeah. Okay. Because I can think this, when I've posted jobs on Upwork and you write your description out and at the end it says, these are the freelancers who are likely to be a really good match. You just want to go and hit them up directly. So I suppose that's working on a keyword match between their request and your profile, presumably. Is that how that works then?
It is. So when I first started on Upwork, I applied to lots of projects that were in the sphere of what I could do and how I could help. And so when you're just getting started, it helps to, do 5 or 10 a day, and you just send out your proposal letter and, just letting the clients know that you're interested in the job and this is how I can help. This is what my experience is. Links to a couple examples in your portfolio of things that are relevant, and then an invite to discuss some more. You can even include a link to like a Calendly so that they can schedule a call with you. But I will say that now that I've built up my profile, I've built up that SEO, I've built up that reputation, the majority of my leads are incoming on Upwork, just like you've mentioned, where somebody posts a project and I get listed as Kelley is a great match for your project. And so I get those incoming leads. I get those direct notifications, those direct invitations to throw my hat in the ring for the project if I want to. So I'm doing less of that searching for projects and outreach right now. And I'm doing more of the responses to projects that are being posted and I'm being invited.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm definitely talking to the right person then who has mastered Upwork, because that's clearly the goal, isn't it? To get to the point where you're not having to spend either your time or now you have to pay for the connects, don't you, to actually pitch somebody new, I think.
I still pay for the premium membership. I can't remember what it's called, but it's $14.95 a month and they give you connects. I never run out of connects because I get invited to the projects. And I can use the connects for other things. Like they're adding in things where you can turn on an available now badge and things like that that you can use the connects for. And I will say that like when I used the connects to turn on that badge, I saw an uptick in invites to things.
Okay, because I've not been around the platform as a freelancer for a long time. I think it was probably when they started making you have to pay a lot of money to send out pitches. Yeah. So it is interesting to hear what they're doing with that to add value for both ends of the platform, because it's not always felt like that balance has been there necessarily.
Right.
But having said that, I've been there.
There's still days where it doesn't.
Yeah, no.
I was just going to say, there's still days where it feels like I don't know that I'm getting as much out of it. But the other thing that I get out of that $15 a month is that, what was the one thing? I can see what other people are bidding on jobs.
Oh, okay.
So I can, if there's a job that if there's a project that I'm really interested in, I can see the range of, people have applied that are charging on the high end, $200 an hour down to $15 an hour. And, it'll tell me you're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So you get just a little bit more insight into things, which I find helpful.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really important intelligence, isn't it? Because it's the same as content creation as I do. There's a huge range of what is in people's heads about what they're prepared to pay and what if you even want to fish in that pond, whether you're on the same page or not. Thinking about pricing of jobs and things, one of the other criticisms of Upwork is that it does, or it can become a race to the bottom cost-wise, particularly because there are a lot of providers on there who maybe live in parts of the world where the cost of living is not the same as you in the US or those of us in Europe. And you get these kind of bidding wars or very low expectations. How do you deal with that? Or do you just avoid it altogether?
I kind of put blinders on and ignore it. I'm not interested in a race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And there are all sorts of clients on Upwork. There are the clients that just want the least expensive work done. Great for them. There's freelancers on the platform that will provide that. I'm not one of those freelancers. I have a depth of experience and expertise that I'm providing my clients that is really valuable. So I'm not going to try somebody who wants to spend $100 for a logo. I'm not going to try and convince them why they should work with me. That's just not worth my time.
Yeah.
But there are many clients on Upwork that don't want to work with the cheapest provider. They want to get a great value for their money. They want to do it once and they want to do it right. And also, clients can say, I want to work with freelancers that are within my geographic region. So being in the US, I've worked with a lot of clients across the US on Upwork, and they were interested in working with other US freelancers.
Right.
Or, similar area.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do is, like, if I get invites to projects that where they're looking for expert level experience, but their budget is
missing a zero or two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just go pass.
Yeah.
I just go pass.
So it is a numbers game then. You can filter those people out because there are enough of the ones prepared to pay for that quality. And you've got to the point where they're finding you too in sufficient numbers. That's really interesting, because I think a lot of people, and I'd probably include myself, don't get to that point and too early on conclude, oh God, everybody wants something for nothing here. I'm wasting my time.
Right.
And clearly you've pushed through that point and got to the stage where you've got enough of the ones who are actually in your matched market in terms of value and price are coming through. That's brilliant. So it's a great profile, a great portfolio. What about those actual letters of approach? You said something about doing 10 a day. Now, again, the last time I posted for any kind of assistance from Upwork, it certainly looked like people were doing 10 a minute. I was getting these really sort of copy and pasted, dear sir, here's a list of everything I've ever done in my life. Just sort of haven't even read your brief, but I'm just banging something in kind of responses. So I'm certain that is not what you do. So tell me about your perfect proposal for the one that you see that you really want to go for.
Yes. So I will say that I start with a template because you're sending a few of these. You're not going to get responses to all of them. You haven't even invested the time to have a call yet. So you don't need to invest an hour writing a completely custom proposal letter.
Right.
One of the tricks that I learned from Lisa Coombs does some really interesting Upwork tips. She's got a Facebook group. And one of the things that she recommends is when you start with your proposal, start with the price. And if the client has listed a price, whether it be a milestone price or an hour, if it's a milestone price, type in placeholder and just match their budget.
Right.
So that you wind up in the filter list of their responses.
Got it.
When it says hourly rate, maintain the hourly rate on your profile.
Right.
Your hourly rate on your profile should always match the proposals that you're sending. You don't want to change your hourly rate to be lower to match what they're asking for, or make it higher to match what they're asking for and then not have it match your profile.
Got it.
So that's the first step with the proposal. And then what I do for my proposal letter is I have just an easy template. I do try to address the job poster personally with their name. If you are invited to the project, you get a note from the poster and it automatically fills in their name. If you're not invited, what you can do is look at the job posting and look at the client's reviews. A lot of times when freelancers leave reviews for the clients, they may mention the client's name.
Brilliant.
And everybody responds really well to their name. People like to be recognized. So just taking those couple extra minutes to find out the client's name helps. And then I always start off with something really positive that relates back to their project. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that you invited me to your project, or I saw your project. It sounds super interesting. And here's why. I really think that I can help you meet your XYZ goals by doing 1, 2, 3. And I'd love to learn more about this, because this is just the start of a conversation. You don't even really have all of the information to properly quote the project yet, unless it's a really straightforward task. For what I'm doing, a lot of times I don't get all the deliverables in that. Yeah. So I do that. And then I just follow up with like 2 brief sentences about my background. I have this many years of experience. These are the things that I do really well. And then I do a curated shortlist of portfolio samples that relate to their project. In my case, doing brand identity and packaging design. If somebody's looking for just packaging design, I'll say, here are a few recent packaging designs that I've done. And I link directly to my Upwork portfolio. Right. If they're looking for something a little different, or if it relates to my corporate experience, I will link them out to my personal portfolio. And then I follow that up with a paragraph about how I like to work, how I like to quote my projects, and inviting them to the next step. So I prefer to quote projects at a flat rate because it eliminates surprises for the clients and helps them plan their budget. And same for me. So I let them know that. And then depending on the project, I might let them know, like, my packaging design projects start at X dollars. If, this all sounds good and you want to continue talking about the project, and then I give them a link to my Calendly where they can book an inquiry call.
Okay. So at that point, you're probably going to do the call not on Upwork, but in some other medium, or where does that point?
I love to do them on Zoom. Upwork has added Zoom to their platform, but it doesn't always work as well. And I've gotten feedback from the Upwork, like, you can get like one of the Upwork people, like one of the Upwork reps, to give you a profile review and a proposal review. And it's interesting. They're not keen on you sharing contact information before you start a contract. As long as you're having this conversation within the platform, and then when you start the project for this, you start the project in the platform, I haven't seen any issues with that.
So you can talk anywhere else if you want to, so long as you keep it there, sort of looping back in occasionally.
So long as you keep it. Because I got the feedback from the Upwork rep that they're like, oh, we think it's great that you send them a link to schedule a call with you. That's just one of those things. I think as long as the clients are happy and continue to come back, Upwork's happy.
Sure. Okay, yes. And I think that brings us on to the slightly delicate issue of obviously the terms of service with Upwork for both you, the freelancer, and for your clients is that your relationship exists completely within Upwork. Is that what always tends to happen? You're going off to Zoom to have the chat, and then at that point you'll either decide to work together or not. Without wanting to violate anybody's confidentiality or business practices that shouldn't be discussed. Do you always work with clients on Upwork for the long term?
When clients reach out to me on Upwork, I like to keep their project on Upwork. Once, and there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, yes, there's the terms of service, and Upwork's been very good to me in terms of helping me to build my business.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that, that I'm continuing to get that lead source. And two, when I start a project on Upwork, when I do a project on Upwork, when I finish that project, we close the project and my clients leave me a rating and review. I like to explain to people, this is kind of like Airbnb where they give me a star rating, they leave me a testimonial. And every time somebody does that, that helps me in my search ranking on Upwork. That helps give me credibility to other clients. So even though Upwork's taking a piece of the revenue from that, I'm still getting a benefit. And, the fee structure is not so bad when you're doing bigger projects.
Right.
I think it's 20% the first $1,000. And then after that, it drops to 10.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after 5,000, and that's for the life of the client. So let's say you do 5 projects with the client and that winds up being, $10,000. You're only paying 20% of that first 1,000 then, and this may have changed. So,
sure.
But it's a tiered structure, and I just build it into my pricing, making sure that I'm still making the profit that I want to make, and I'm accounting for the Upwork, essentially their referral fee.
Yeah, makes sense. So for you, it does make total sense then to allow for that cost, as you say, build it in, especially with that first client, that first job where it's going to be 20%. Whatever happens in the future may or may not, but it is worth bearing in mind that then that does taper down, and you can keep the whole relationship there long term. And as you said, Upwork's clearly been good to you. You clearly have a great relationship with them, and you want to stay in good standing with them. That makes absolute sense. I can see that. And that thing about reviewing the proposals, that must be a premium thing. And reviewing your profile and getting personal feedback, that sounds really useful and valuable. Actually, I don't think I knew that was a thing.
It is, yeah. I was active on the platform for like 6 or 8 months when they reached out to me with that, and it was it was included with the membership, or and they reach out from time to time with either individual feedback like that, or the ability to get individual feedback, or group webinars on how to increase or improve your proposal, or how to have your profile stand out, things like that. Because really, it's in Upwork's best interest that the freelancers on the platform do well and present themselves in a high quality. You mentioned earlier when you've been on there that like you post a job and all of a sudden you've got like 20, 30, 50 applications. And most of them are not high quality because somebody's just copy and pasting the same exact form letter without adjusting.
But they seem to arrive in the first 30 seconds or something. How did you even do that with the time machine or something? So that's clearly not the right approach.
Right. And that's not a great client experience for you as a customer of not just a freelancer, but also of Upwork. So like Upwork wants to help and make sure that the clients are also getting a good experience. So, and I just think it's, when you're hustling on social media, you're speaking to a lot of people, but not everybody is ready to buy, so you might be cultivating cold leads to warm leads to hot leads over a longer period of time versus when you go on Upwork and somebody has posted a project, they're already warm. Like they already have something and are ready to go. And so, there's a little bit of competition where they're going to be looking at other freelancers too. But I don't know, I haven't found another platform. I mean, there's some other freelancer platforms, but I haven't found another, social media or even a website where you have so much access to so many warm leads for your business.
That's a really positive way of looking at it. I suppose that kind of intent that they're only there because they want to hire somebody to do a thing. And if that's you, then the timing's right. And there's a meeting of minds. However much you chit chat on LinkedIn or whatever, you might not get there. So that totally makes sense. So I think what you've painted for me is a really clear picture of a sort of win-win-win for you, the provider, the client hiring you, and Upwork, the platform, as really working together. And it's now making sense to me why this is an important part of your business. And should I go and dust off that pro? No, I haven't got time. I've got a podcast.
The one thing I will add is that it is a long game. It's definitely, it takes some time to build up that kind of flywheel of traction. And, I would say like the first 6 to 8 months were a little bit slower because it was, I'm reaching out for jobs. I'd get one, I'd get it done. I'd get a review. I'd get another, I'd get a review. I'd refine a little bit because I wasn't getting as many. And then, after about 6 months, like things started to pick up. I got enough positive reviews that I got and enough time on the platform that I got to top rated status, which meant that, I'm getting a little bit higher in some of the rankings in the searches. I'm getting suggested when people then are posting their projects. So then I'm starting to get more invites. So then I'm starting to get more projects. So then I'm getting more reviews. And then that's, I would say things really kicked in 12 months in, where all of a sudden it's, okay, I don't have to do as much outreach on the platform. People are coming to me. I'm getting people coming to me multiple times a week.
Right.
And
so you've got the right things coming, which are the work you want to do at the price you want to do it. That's sort of the holy grail then, isn't it? That you've clearly cracked the system. And that's fantastic. Yeah. And you mentioned just now there are other platforms, well, I can think like Freelancer or Fiverr, which has the dreadful legacy of suggesting you do something for $5. And I know that's not the case anymore. That's not what most of those gigs are now priced at. But do you invest any time in any of the other platforms, or do you focus your energies pretty much exclusively on Upwork now? Can you do that? Can you spread yourself that thin?
I focus pretty much just on Upwork. I think when I started on Upwork, I think I also made maybe a Fiverr profile and a profile on another one. And, I spent, maybe the first 3 months, I spent some time on all three of them. But this is the one that I started seeing traction on. And once I started seeing traction, I just put all my focus on Upwork. I will say that, it is somebody else's platform. So it's just like building up your entire audience on Instagram and not having an email list, where I don't want all of my traffic coming from Upwork because something could happen tomorrow.
Yep.
They could suspend my profile, the platform could go down, something like that. So I am, trying to build up more of a lead source from SEO and some and some other areas. I'm just not doing it on another freelance platform.
Yep, that makes sense. And this is the kind of thing we say to people all the time, isn't it? It's not your territory. You don't own it. You shouldn't put everything into it. But when you've got something like the perfect social network or whatever that's already got all the people there, it's very easy to go down that route fairly exclusively. And Upwork have been around a while now. I guess hopefully they'll stick around. I remember them when they were Elance, so that's going back a little bit. So for new freelancers then, or anyone thinking, should I go down that route? I take it that I'm guessing from your answers so far that you would say, yes, give Upwork a try and give it a proper try as well.
Yes, I do recommend it. I recommend it for new freelancers or freelancers that are saying that they're having trouble getting leads because of the fact that it is just full of warm leads. But yeah, be realistic about it. It's going to take some time. Like I mentioned, it wasn't an overnight where all of a sudden all these leads are pouring in. It took some legwork for a few months to get to a place where it was really beneficial. And do your homework, look at what your client is looking for and tailor to that. And sometimes it's helpful to get a few projects on the platform at maybe a slightly lower rate than what you're looking to do. Don't go to rock bottom, but if your hourly rate is say $50 an hour, you might, and you're seeing a lot of jobs posted for say $35 an hour, you might do one or two really simple, straightforward jobs for $35 an hour. Finish that first or second job, raise your hourly price $5 to $10. Do that incrementally until you get to the rate that you want to be at.
Yes, or 20% above the rate that you want to be.
Or 20% above the rate,
yeah. No, that's really good advice, because obviously you're bringing your 20 years of experience to the platform, but all people see is a brand new profile. That's a tricky one to get started with. Do you know if Upwork are okay with putting links to external projects or things like a LinkedIn profile or a portfolio site hosted elsewhere? Just thinking about people bringing loads of experience but new to the platform, or would that look like you're trying to lead them off down the garden path?
I believe that you can't do that in your profile, because then somebody can contact you like directly off of the platform. But there's a place on your profile for you to list your experience. So you can take your job titles and companies and the years worked and include it there, just like you do on your LinkedIn. You can take the images and the text that you have for case studies on your own website or on your LinkedIn and post that as portfolio projects on Upwork. And then what you can do is when you send out that proposal email, you can include links to your LinkedIn, to your personal portfolio.
So you can do it in your proposals. Yeah. Okay. No, that's
as long as you're not encouraging the clients to, hey, come contact me here instead.
No, you would never want to do that. Clearly the platform's been very good to you and you want to keep playing by their rules. So I guess that's the next bit of advice then, is that take the time and actually reconstruct your work history and your portfolio properly on your profile. If you only need to do that once, and then clients can click through and see it. So that's great. Okay, well, we're not Upwork, so we can send people to your social media and your portfolios and your sites. So we'll put all that into the show notes, Kelley. But for anyone listening now who's dying to see what you're working on, can you tell us the best place to find you online?
Sure. So my website is hiddenpathcreative.com. And then I post lots of work to Instagram. And that is Hidden Path Creative is the account name as well. All one word, no spaces.
Brilliant. Okay. This has been a conversation that I hope I'm going to warn them in the show notes to be taking notes. If you're setting up your Upwork, you need to pay attention to this because it's just been one gem after another. Really, really valuable insights. I'm extremely grateful to you, Kelley. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners of The Future Is Freelance? Any other thoughts, questions, ideas, or things that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
Oh boy, that feels like
no
a
pressure.
Big question. But yeah. I think if you're thinking about going freelance and constructing your own business and your own way of working, don't be afraid to dip your toe in and try it on the side. And you don't have to wait for it to be perfect. You don't have to wait to build the perfect Upwork profile or the perfect website or the perfect Instagram. You can just start where you are and keep iterating.
Brilliant. That's a woman after my own heart, another minimum viable freelancer. Kelley, thanks so much for joining us on The Future Is Freelance. It's been great having you here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been a really, really fun conversation.
You've been listening to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Zolo.io, who offer compliance, taxation, invoicing, and admin solutions for fiercely independent solopreneurs across the globe. From simply getting paid to launching a full EU-based limited company, Solo has you covered, thanks to Estonian e-residency and a superb suite of streamlined business software. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts.